Welcome to DPW Amsterdam. We are live on day one. And with me in the studio today, I have Rosalia and Kaspar. Welcome. How are you?
Doing great.
Excellent. Maybe we can start with a quick introduction for our listeners, right? We have here on the table. My name is Herman. I'm the CEO of DPW. And with me, Rosalia.
My name is Rosalia Snyder. I'm a director of source-to-pay solutions at Microsoft Procurement.
And my name is Kaspar. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Pactum AI.
Welcome. Well, we're going to talk about AI, but first, how are you doing? How are you experiencing your first DPW, right?
Oh my gosh, it's been great.
Yeah.
It's been so exciting. The energy is through the roof, and I've already made a lot of great connections. Really enjoyed my presentation earlier.
Yeah,
it's been a lot of fun.
Okay, that's great to hear. And what have you learned so far?
What have I learned so far?
Yeah.
Change. We've all got to be able to embrace change. I think that's something that's palpable in all of the presentations that I've heard so far.
And you, Kaspar?
For us, it's the fourth.
I know. You're a strong supporter.
We were here where we had like a couple of employees at Pactum and in pitching competition or something, and we won it, and we were like, oh, this is great. And now like we have 15 customers here already, so it's like meeting with the customers event for us.
Excellent. And at the time 4 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Did you have a good understanding of procurement?
I was totally new here. Like our backgrounds are not from procurement,
I know.
So it's like okay. It's exciting, and I was so surprised, like why there are so few companies here, like who build stuff for procurement.
Yeah.
Like it was total, like I don't know, 10, 15 startups, and now you can see hundreds.
Yes.
Everyone is doing something, so it's totally different world within 4 years.
Yeah. This is a short time frame, right?
Yeah.
In 4 years, what's happening now here? Thank you so much for being here for the fourth time, for the first time. Maybe a quick introduction on your role. You're based in the US, right?
I am.
Yeah. Can you tell a bit what you're doing on a day-to-day basis?
On a day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
So I'm overseeing our digital transformation roadmap at Microsoft, where we prioritize our investments, where we leverage AI, and where we make decisions on build, leveraging.
Are you collaborating already?
We're starting now.
Yeah.
We had the first call a few weeks ago.
Okay, exciting.
Yes. Well, to that point, I'm also looking at where do we, prioritize our investments with our engineering teams on build, or with third-party applications that might be best in class.
That's interesting in your
Exactly.
position. Yeah. And you? Well,
I'm just the big boss doing nothing.
Yes, you're growing your company, right?
Yeah.
That's it. No.
No,
How's the company evolving?
We are still a small company, like 100 people. You're still hands-on on everything. But of course, new quarter started now, so it's lots of strategy review, kind of. There's so much to do in autonomous negotiation space, kind of. So our main discussion always is where to focus more, what to say no to, and these are very painful decisions because basically it works. AI agents could be applied to so many different occasions.
So, and that's your focus?
Our focus is mostly now procurement,
and
in procurement in indirect and direct manufacturing. So kind of two main. But we're doing logistics, retail also, but mostly indirect, like sourcing events, requisitions, contract renewals, and these type of negotiations. So we are sending our bot to suppliers, and while we speak, there are thousands of bots out there doing negotiations, closing deals autonomously, and creating value for both sides.
And in your day-to-day life, or making those decisions, right, on buy and build, is that something you do on a monthly basis, or is it one project a year? Can you maybe enlighten us a bit on the extent of this?
It's constant.
It's constant, even.
Constant, yeah.
Okay.
So on a daily basis, you can find me partnering with my procurement leadership, our business stakeholders, both inside and outside of procurement, on what those strategies should be and where should we be assessing some third-party investments. I have a fantastic team. We spend our time sometimes reimagining processes and workshops. Sometimes we're leading a user acceptance testing for a new upcoming release, or hosting some trainings. But developing that strategy and that roadmap in partnership with our accounts payable teams who own more of the invoicing and the payment side of it, as well as our engineering partners who are really prioritizing the security and the scalability of our end-to-end technical infrastructure.
Yeah. Cool. What keeps you up at night?
What keeps me up at night? Oh gosh, there are many things. I would say prioritization, and I think you referenced this a little bit in your response.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things coming at us. Things change quickly by the day. And
Yeah,
so,
you mentioned change.
yeah, as a leader in this time when things are rapidly evolving, you've got to know what to say yes to and what to say no to. And so that's something that always has to be at the forefront, and it's something that I spend a lot of energy into.
Is this something you recognize with your customers?
Yes, and what keeps me up is it's not so much even about technology anymore. It's about how we increase adoption, how we do the change management, how we kind of increase the usage, because technology works, right?
Works, right?
But it
Yeah.
doesn't work by itself. It's not these days anymore with enterprises that take it and then you just start using it. It's you need to change the process. You need to embrace that change. You need to train maybe how we collaborate with bots these days, and kind of change the mindset of entire company. And this is, for a startup, it's a great challenge at the same time, because when we are working with companies like Walmart, who has over 2 million employees,
Yeah.
and then we have like 2 persons next to them trying to change and transform one company. Hence, we need collaboration, we need partners, and this is what we are building and what is our challenge today.
Yeah. What's your key challenge?
I think he just nailed it. It's the change in the mindset.
Yeah. How do you address it?
To shift in our approach to transformation, we really needed to go back to the drawing board and focus on our process instead
Yeah.
of our tech.
Okay.
And so going back to the drawing board and having the teams really look at the process and what are we doing and why are we doing it and is it adding value and are there other ways that we can be doing it. Having the teams adopt to that change and really challenge the status quo has been, I think, the biggest hurdle.
So I think there's a consensus here around change and behavior and adoption rather than technology at the moment. Is it also what you hear and see on the conference or in general?
I've heard some of those themes so far in the sessions that I've attended, is that being one of our biggest obstacles in terms of driving the transformation and seizing the opportunities that we know we have ahead of us.
Yeah, and the same here. Like mostly we are meeting with our clients here, and so most discussions are kind of how do we increase usage, how do we be part of the processes, part of the policies, right?
Yeah.
Like in very clear example, like some negotiation should go automatically through Pactum. What policies we need to change, what rules we need to establish that these things would go through it. And so this is the collaboration what we're mostly seeing here.
Yeah,
Is it something you recognize or practice?
it is something I recognize. And I think in this time, it's easy to get caught up in like the why. Like, why do we have to change and how do we change and what are we trying to do? And I think the biggest piece is just to get started and just start exploring and then just start iterating through each learning. And I think that's really the best way to approach it at this point.
On making those buy or build decisions, right? That's, I think, very interesting position to do so. Can you share a bit on that? How does it work? What's needed basically to make that decision for you?
Yeah. So at Microsoft, we used to build almost
I know.
everything because we
Yes.
had the engineering teams to be able to do that. But we've recently just shifted that approach on where are there areas where there's best-in-class industry capabilities that would be best for us to maybe leverage. And
Yeah.
so we actually, one of those areas is leveraging SAP Ariba now
Yeah.
for our sourcing processes.
Yeah.
So we took something that was very decentralized, a lot of swivel chair, manual copy and paste activities, and now we're leveraging the industry best practices for sourcing. And what it's done for us is it's enabled us to create structure around our sourcing data, which then positions us to leverage a sourcing assistant, which is a custom AI model, in the future to then further automate that process. So we're looking at areas for how do we invest wisely
Yeah.
to help accelerate
Yeah.
that future innovation.
Yeah. And for example, autonomous negotiations, would there be a subject to that decision? To buy or build the technology or the collaboration or an opportunity area to invest for you?
I think there's many dimensions to it. The cost to ongoing maintenance for
Yeah,
that particular
course.
product. What is that going to take? The need and how quickly the speed is for implementation is another area that we look at, as well as just overall like risk and security of that potential solution. So I wouldn't say that there's just one thing that we're looking at. I'd say that it's multidimensional amongst a lot of factors.
I think, well, the opening was about AI as well, right? And it's all over the place. But maybe we can demystify that a bit in this conversation as well. What's your take here? Are we overhyping at the moment? Are we practicing? Are we learning to practice? Is it like was said on the main stage today that in 2 years procurement will look completely different or not?
So
Where are we?
interesting thing with AI is that every year we see a new thing. What is AI? And the previous thing anymore is not even AI, like autonomous vehicles or like neural networks or machine learning or different waves that we see. Last year it was large language models. Now
Yes.
it's AI.
Talk of the town, right? Last year.
Last week is AI agents, like LLMs
Pilots.
getting identities, right?
Yes.
Acting like, and for us it's perfect spot, of course, because we have built AI agents 5 years ago already. So we are there again, and then we see that. So and next year something that is AI was AI is not anymore AI. So basically, so always technology comes and I'm much believer in technology and much believer how much it changes. My previous background was in government, and I saw AI there as well. And so what we see now is I see still just the beginning. Like I have invested to AI stocks myself, my personal money, and I believe that it's not a hype. It's just it takes time always that AI actually gives you the results. The hype usually comes when you think that tomorrow is very different, but it takes time for the adaptation, what we speak, the change, to actual impact takes time. But the technologies are very powerful, and they are changing the ways how we work, how we collaborate with AI models, and so I really like this space. Yeah.
Yeah. And you?
I don't think it's just a hype.
Oh, it's a hype.
I don't think it's just a hype.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I didn't. Sorry. Okay, this is interesting.
I do not think it's a hype.
It would
I
have
do.
been so interesting discussion if you would have said
I know,
other
okay,
than
well, let me change my
No.
answer. No, I think it's here to stay. I think we are just scratching the surface, and I think the way that we work is going to completely transform. I think we're already exploring with it and seeing ways that it can accelerate decision making, and also just eliminate the drudgery in one's role. I think that there are a lot of just kind of tedious tasks that we do as a procurement function that nobody really loves. And I think that those are perfect opportunities that are just ripe for AI automation.
So procurement is a perfect target for AI, basically. Yeah. And if an example of basic tasks, right? Or no, you mentioned the speed of decision making. Can you give an example here?
Yeah, I can give you some examples. So in our sourcing space, we've partnered with our engineering teams to enhance our sourcing process and decrease our RFP turnaround time. So what we're doing is when our stakeholders have a need for sourcing, we're leveraging a sourcing assistant that reads all of their project details, analyzes hundreds of historical RFPs, and then evaluates a sourcing strategy. So it'll tell a sourcing manager, based on historical data, should we move directly to a competitive bid or should we move directly into a negotiation? And if so, it'll provide a list of suppliers that best fit that project criteria based off of historical data. And in scenarios where it says to do a competitive bid, it'll look at all of the suppliers' reviews and proposals, and it will rank them and look at our historical spend and compliance and all of these other data elements. And it will actually make an award recommendation to that sourcing manager, who then will own that final decision.
Oh, interesting.
So we've seen that already save at least 3.5 weeks, but it's just made it so much quicker for our sourcing teams to be able to leverage historical data and historical outcomes to inform the decision of their existing needs.
Is speed also what you recognize? And maybe also for the audience, right? Maybe you can spend a minute or so on what you do, what problem are you solving with Pactum?
Yeah, so our use cases are that AI agents are part of the existing procurement workflows. So for example, if Ariba, you mentioned what you're using, kind of how you have approval process in Ariba if you're doing requisitions. So before the requisition is approved, it goes through Pactum, we get the discount and we update the new price there. Or you have a sourcing event in Ariba or Coupa. After sourcing event is done, you have 3 winners there, 3 bids, and then automatically Pactum gets a better price for one of those by negotiating through chat-like interface with these suppliers. And then contract renewals or indirect, very hot this year is direct manufacturing price lists. So you have price lists that commodities are going down, then they should be reviewed. So automatically bot triggers negotiations with certain items and considers commodity changes, considers margin changes, volume changes, and then agrees a new price list with suppliers.
That's interesting, right? I saw the demo. You work with large organizations, right? What is your advice to those organizations on how well to adopt technologies like yours or others?
Yeah.
Because you see a lot of challenges when you collaborate with them, right?
Yeah, and I'm very hard lessons learned myself. Like I'm product person, and I built the most sophisticated AI negotiation solutions first, and it was very difficult to get adoption with them.
Yeah.
So now we changed, and we have built 4 layers of AI model, where the first layer is the most simplistic AI negotiation bots. And there it's like requisitions, like more like haggle bots, some call them, like less terms to trade or something. Number 2 level is already you can do trade-offs, you can have data points, you can ask incentives and ask supplier preferences and offer supplier what they like and make. So actually doing like proper negotiations. Level 3 is already item level, like mentioned, commodities, lots of different data points come into the item level negotiation. Very sophisticated already. For human brains, difficult to even consider whether it's a good or bad deal, the new deal. But we have also seen level 4, which are our latest level of AI, where basically AI is already outperforming any human beings possibly, because you not only know what is good or bad deal, but you already know to advise on strategic level also, like what categories to increase, where things are bad, how competitors are reacting, and then not only being there to execute, but actually speaking to you and advising on strategic decisions, and then executing the same day. And this is super interesting because you can be a large enterprise of many million employees and you can act as fast now as startups, basically. You can move direction, you can be agile again because you don't need to train 2 years of all employees. You can change the code and settings of AI bots and then they will execute. And this is super interesting.
I see it in your eyes, what's happening there, right? How will that impact organizations like yours, for example? Large organizations with this speed and this level. That's massive, right?
Massive.
Yeah.
I think it
How do you
helps us
prepare
scale.
Yeah.
It helps us scale. We've seen it in our sustainability space where we're leveraging AI to accelerate a lot of the reporting process for our suppliers and how they report their carbon emissions, as well as the automation of our compliance review for our sustainability teams. And so through this AI model, we've actually decreased our overall review time by 50%, which has enabled our sustainability team to scale the number of suppliers in our program. And what that does is rapidly advance our progress against our overarching sustainability goals. And so I think that that's a really great example of the way that we're leveraging AI to scale for speed and gain momentum towards our goals.
And again, on impact on large organizations, that will impact, I assume, also the team and the skill sets and the people that you have, right? And also the numbers and the place. What's happening in your organization?
I think we're scaling.
We're
scaling quickly. Yes, and we're leveraging our procurement. We're leveraging our procurement skill sets and our expertise, I feel, more strategically. I mentioned earlier that I think AI helps us automate some of those drudgery and those like low value tasks. So we're reallocating that mind share into more strategic areas of where we can scale quickly and proactively mitigate risk.
So it's also increased speed to those business outcomes.
Increase speed of the business outcomes. The other thing it helps us do is drive operating leverage so that we can continue to invest in our future.
Can you explain that one a bit?
Yeah, how do we secure the cash and the leverages, or the cash and the operating leverage that then empowers us to do more without having to hire more people to be able to do it?
And in your work with large organizations, right? What advice would you give? How to adopt?
Our advice usually is like startup mindset, like let's not build 5-year plan with some big companies who ask 20 million for that. Like, let's just start, because otherwise you can't get buy-in. You need to show results quickly, show money, right? And then talk, and then people get excited, right? It's so easy to criticize any plan that you create about bringing AI in now, right? So it's like,
And we're in an environment that changes so quickly that by the time you've created that 5-year plan, it's no longer relevant.
Exactly.
And so you really
Just
just
throw
have
it
to
out of
get,
the window,
you have
right?
to
Those
get
5-year
started,
plans.
and then
Yeah,
you
yeah,
have to
yeah,
just adjust
yeah.
as you go along
Yeah.
the way.
And generally speaking, across the board, do you see organizations adapting that mindset and the mentality and starting small because they have to basically, right? Otherwise,
What we see is the same companies are progressive. In Europe, like you can name 10, 15, and then you see other founders and startups working with the same companies.
Yeah.
You know?
So those companies are leading the pack, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And some others don't.
And the others?
I have been even meeting companies and C-level execs who say that they don't want to lead this. They want to see what others are doing and then adopting. So, and this is very different of US and Europe mindsets, by the way. Like in US, you want to outbeat others. You want to be the first. You want to say exclusivities. Don't work with them. Come here. In Europe, it's more like, let's see what the US is doing, and then let's adopt if it works. And so the understanding of what is innovation or innovation adoption, like it's not there in there are, like I said, 10, 15 companies in Europe who understand this space, but they are minority still.
Yeah, still. Something you recognize?
Yes, absolutely. You know, at Microsoft, we talk about leading from the front, and we're very much on that front of AI and the applications of it. And so when you're a leader in that space, it can feel very uncomfortable. You're navigating uncharted territory,
Uncertainty.
challenging the status quo, a lot of uncertainty. And we're exploring with new technologies where we know going into it, we are not going to get it right the first time.
Yeah.
Or like the 5th time. So it just takes a mindset of just getting started.
And culture, right?
And
also,
culture.
And also leadership.
Culture and leadership, yes. So we are focused on agility and adaptability. We also encourage a growth mindset. And so we very much lean in with a learn it all rather than a know it all attitude.
Yeah.
We've also prioritized rapid iteration within our culture.
Yeah.
And we celebrate a concept called intelligent failures, which is a concept introduced
Sharing your failures,
yes,
right?
by
Yeah.
author and researcher Amy Edmondson. And it's really about embracing experimentation, taking data-driven smart risks,
Yeah.
and learning quickly so that you're not being wasteful with your resources. And so that's the culture that we are really trying to embrace and really trying to do from a leadership level down, because it requires a different skill set at a leadership level to be able to support your teams through all of that growth and all of that iteration and all of that change. And so it's a big shift, and it's one that we're very intentional about.
And we talked about Europe and the US and the differences. And you're in the US.
Yes.
Do you have a team also in Europe?
Not my
Or in
direct
EMEA?
team, but yeah, I have team members. I mean, we're a global company. Our engineering partners, a lot of them are based in India.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. And do you experience also different mindsets across these teams across the globe? I assume that's not easy, right?
Different mindsets. I wouldn't say that it's specific to like a certain country. I think with any type of change, you have change agents who are embracing it and on board. And I think you have others who are maybe a little bit more resistant. And so I see that across the board.
Yeah. What would your advice be to the other organizations, right? Not the top 10, the top 50 in Europe. What would you say? Or is it something they say, yeah, well, they experience it themselves. They will come back in 1 to 2 years.
My advice would be, I don't know, life is too short for boring life.
Yeah, true.
Yes, yes.
Okay, we're on the right table. Yeah. Oh, fair enough. Yeah. And your focus on markets, right? Is can you explain a bit on that? Where are you growing? What are you targeting?
In indirect, it really doesn't matter in procurement. We are consuming the same stuff. But in direct, our focus is manufacturing and then retail and logistics a bit. Service industries, for us, it's a bit less to do. If main cost is only salaries, then there is not much the cost in the procurement. But if you're purchasing, reselling something, you're purchasing, manufacturing something, then you have like tens of thousands of suppliers who are not managed today. And then just speaking to them, understanding them, offering them something, getting prices fixed. This is what AI bots are already can do today.
If we step away a bit from AI and the impact, right?
Can't.
We can't.
You can't.
Shit. Sorry for that one. No, we can't, right? Is there anything else we need to address here?
Blockchain, was it there?
No, don't take us backwards.
Anything else? Or is this this is it, right?
Well,
Come on.
the AI is just so large term, right? Like
Yeah, okay.
much
We need to
of
break it down.
technology is RPA, robotic process automation, like just automating
That's
processes.
already for a long time
Yes,
here, right?
and this
RPA.
always happens to be their part of AI. Like AI is also automating process, and so there is lot else than these agents itself. But of course, AI has higher ROI and higher potential for faster impact, so that's why it gets all the attention. But all the technologies obviously grow at the same time, and for startup founders, it's more difficult if you're not in AI, obviously. But they are still all needed there.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say it's not always about the technology. It's not just about the AI. It's really about like the process and how do we streamline and how do we make sure that we're focusing on the right things. I think if you take a very poorly defined process and you put AI on it, you're not going to get the outcomes that our leaders are expecting. And so really shifting to focus on those outcomes and the processes and how we get there is going to be just, I think, equally as important as leveraging the AI on top of it.
Anything that we didn't cover yet you want to bring in here?
Always a question we should prepare that, and we never are.
Should have been prepared for this one. You're at DPW.
I think one of the things that I heard earlier, right, was around the change and the need to adapt to the change. And I think it is really important for us as leaders to really coach our teams to learn how to thrive in the ambiguity, because things are moving so quickly. They change by the day. And we've got to be okay with making decisions without having all of the perfect information. So being able to take what you have and what you know to be true and to make a decision with confidence that you can clearly communicate it with your teams, and that you can course correct and still be agile when you need to change your position later. That's just a skill set that we're going to need to learn to embrace, because that's what's going to help us be successful in this new wave.
Are you saying that the change management, right, that we have already for a long period in organizations, 10, 15, let's say 5 years ago, that the framework for change management of 5 years ago, is it still relevant today? Or does the change management need to change?
I think change management needs to change, to your points. Change
Okay.
management is not about sitting down and having trainings and having perfect information and being walked through a plan to, adopt the change. At this point, what change looks like is we're going one direction, and then the next minute we're going the complete opposite direction. And that's okay. And sometimes with teams, like being able to communicate that direction to say, hey, we made a bad turn and we learned, and so now we need to course correct. Getting people on board with changing that direction quickly is what we really need to embrace, because you're not always going to be able to hold somebody's hand through the change to make sure that they're comfortable in the directions that you're shifting in. And so to your point, I do think that the way we approach change needs to change.
I'll give you maybe a specific example of change management best practices that when they're, to simplify, 3 types of enterprises we face. First is companies who don't want any change or innovation, so this we covered already. Companies who want to try out new technologies, but it's more like the attitude that come and show us what you have, and then it's like it worked or didn't work, okay, and we'll form a decision. And then there are companies like Microsoft who kind of understand it, that it's a journey. Like you don't try it out, we need to mutually make it work. And just 2 days ago, I was meeting one of our clients in Amsterdam, and my first slide was that, look, our results are bad. They're here. Conversion is bad. This is like terrible. Like, what can we do? And their attitude is, it's all of both of us can do something. It's not like Pactum, you came with technology, because others are here. Why we are here? What can we do? And then we came up again to 5 next things, how to improve it, how to improve negotiations, use case, data levels, everything. And we put them in, and we come here. And this is the enterprises that will succeed, like seeing that as a collaboration with in-house engineers, partners, and not seeing them as like opposition or someone who come and test, but to build it together, to improve it together and learn it, kind of.
Thank you for being here. What's your plan for today and tomorrow here in Amsterdam?
Lots of dinners.
Continue to network, share best practices.
Yes. Okay. And you?
Yeah, many dinners to attend, so I'll try to not to eat for next few hours.
You're very popular. I don't know that I have as many dinners as you do.
I hope you can join our dinner then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I see you with the drinks later today, but thank you for being here. And thank you for sharing your insights, your stories as well, and your piece of advice to others.
Thank you for the opportunity to
Yes,
be here,
of
to
course.
participate in this event, and
Yeah.
to share our learning journey.
Yeah, and your first time. We see you
My
back,
first
right?
time, yes.
Yes. Excellent.
This
Okay.
is your first podcast, right?
Yeah, well, it is. We started this year in Amsterdam, recording 16 sessions,
Nice.
8 per day, and they will be broadcasted after.
And
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's
Awesome.
fun.
Thank you. You're in the first series. Celebrate that. And to the audience, thank you for being here with us, DPW Amsterdam 2024. We're just getting started, right? So there's much coming. So I hope you enjoyed this session as well. And hope to see you soon in Amsterdam, in New York, or online. That's also very much appreciated. Thank you.